la 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 la. Oh, hey guys, how's it going? Just trying to get everything synced up here. Today is Tuesday, so that means it's a songwriting video today. And I'm really excited because we're going to look at suspended chords. Woohoo! Alright, you've heard those before. And I specifically want to talk about how we could use them to make our chord progressions and music sound more interesting, come alive a little bit more. I think the best place to start is to go back to Bach's time and look at how they thought of suspension. So let me just play a quick chord progression here. The way that they thought of suspension was suspending a resolution. The resolution here was from F major to C major. What I did is after I played F major, I kept this F note right here in the C chord. And this F note that I'm keeping in the C chord is called a suspension. It's when you carry a note over into the next chord. But you have to resolve that, and so we resolve it by playing C major. So what we did is we resolved the non-harmonic tone F, and it's non-harmonic because it's not in C major. We resolved that non-harmonic tone F down to E, to a harmonic tone, which is in C major, because C major is C, E, and G. So, non-harmonic, harmonic. Today when we talk about suspension, we might be talking about carrying over tones and then resolving them to harmonic tones, but we also talk about suspension in terms of harmonic structures like chords. So we can have a C sus2, for example, or a C sus4. Let's quickly go over what a suspended chord is. Let's start with just C major. C major is not a suspended chord, but how do we build C major? Well, there's 7 notes in a C major scale, right? Okay, that was 7 notes, and then 8, which is C. It's an octave. The way that you build C major is you start on C, and you go 1, 3, 5. So first note in the scale is C, third note in the scale, that's E, and fifth note in the scale is G. And so there you go, you've built C major. Now, a suspended 2 chord is 1, 2, 5. So 1 is C, 2 is D, 5 is G. That's suspended 2. Suspended 4 is 1, 4, 5. So 1 is C, 4 is F, 5 is G. That's just how you build it. So at this point of the video, we've looked at suspended tones and we've looked at suspended chords. Now let's see how we can use them to make our music more interesting. First thing we can do is just do what Bach did, right? Just to use the suspended chords or tones to suspend a resolution. So for example, I'm going to play a chord progression, then I'm going to play it again, but I'm going to use a suspended chord to suspend the resolution. So here's the progression. Now let's use C sus2 to suspend the resolution. Sounds pretty good. Now let's use sus4 to suspend the resolution. Sounds pretty cool too. Immediately using a sus chord to suspend a resolution makes the music more interesting and makes it sound way cooler. The next thing that you could do is kind of obvious. You could just use suspended chords wherever you want. So for example, so here's taking that idea a step further. Here we have a sus2 resolution, right? So I'm going to play C sus2 and resolve to C major. So here we go. And so that resolution has a certain feel to it. Let me play it again. Now what if we wanted to put that feel over an entire chord progression? Well, the way that you do this is actually kind of easy. What you do is you just really hone in on this D note right here. You just make sure that D note is featured a lot in the chord progression, and when you finally resolve, it's going to feel like the whole thing was a sus2 resolution. Let me show you an example. So I'm going to start with the original progression. Here we go. Now I'm going to color that chord progression with the D. So when we land on the final C major, that general feeling of sus2 resolution is felt. So here we go. It's subtle, but it just makes the whole harmony seem a little bit more cohesive, and it just feels really good. So what did I do there? Well, I played the C major, didn't do anything to the C major, but then what I did is I played the A minor. I didn't play the high E, I'm just playing the D, right? Remember, because we want to add the D in there, because that's what's giving us that sus2 feel. And then I played an F major, but instead of playing the high C, I played a D. So instead of this F major right here, I played the F major and added a D above. Okay, that's an F major 6. And then I just played a normal G. A G has a D in it, and then I just resolved to the C major. We've been looking heavily at sus2. What about sus4? The same idea applies, and so when we do the same thing using the 4, we just use F instead of D, so we try to highlight the F. Let's do a different chord progression. Let's do this chord progression. But now let's try to give that whole chord progression a sus4 feel. Okay, so here we go. Pretty cool. Now let's put a producer's hat on and make that a little bit more interesting by playing arpeggios rather than chords. So let's check something like this out. Kind of cool. Now let's extend the resolution in a very dramatic way. Now that's pretty, isn't it? The only thing I did with that walk up there was just play the sus4 chord moving up. So I would play C, F, G, C, F, G, C, F, and I stopped on F to really let that suspend and then resolve. Sounds freaking really nice, doesn't it? And the last thing I want to cover is something that's a little bit more complex, and what you could do is use sus chords to switch between parallel keys. What's a parallel key? Well, here's C major and here's C minor. Those are parallel keys, so you could actually use sus chords as pivot points between parallel keys. Alright, so let's try this out. We're going to go minor, suspended, and then major. Alright, here we go. See how natural that felt? It's really, really cool because you could use suspended chords as pivot chords between parallel keys. Es todo. That's it. Hopefully I've given you some things to think about there. Hopefully I've given you some Bye.